Can a new head coach and a new QB finally break the trend of losing to the lowly Giants? We're going to find out as we have the Ace joining us to give us a game preview as the Washington Commanders host the New York Football Giants. Let's go. Here's some cheers for you, the Ace, for joining us here on Ref the District. We appreciate it. We talked a little bit about our side of things, and there's a lot of fear coming from Washington Commanders fans because of how this matchup has gone. And we collectively kind of feel like maybe the Giants are looking at this game as their get-right game after the Week 1 loss against Minnesota. How are you and other New York fans looking at this game against Washington?
Well, first things first, appreciate you guys for having me on. You know what I'm saying? I love the channel. Everybody that's listening, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Stoner, second time I got to collaborate with him. He came on my channel for the Behind the Team segment, which as a content creator, it's my most viewed video. I love it, but as a Giants fan, I'm shaking my head at it. But to talk to the point about Week 2, Giant fans this entire week has just been a disaster for Giant fans. Like, consider, and with all fairness, because last week we looked terrible on all sides of the football. Nothing came out good. As far as this being a get-right game, for me as a Giants fan, it's kind of a wait and see what happens, because we also thought we were also going to get a very favorable matchup against the Minnesota Vikings last week, and they came in and absolutely smacked us. Now, the Giants and Daniel Jones have all had success against the Washington Commanders. Like I had posted earlier, Daniel Jones is 5-1-1 against the Commanders. So it is a team that he does have, like I said, success on it. He has seen some of his best football against. But this week is, we have two teams that are kind of very similar. You know what I'm saying? We're both kind of in the rebuild mode. Now, Daniel Jones is in year 6. We kind of know what he is, but this is year 3 of the Brian Daboll, Joe Shane regime. So both teams are kind of at the same level, in my opinion. So I do feel like it is anybody's game. It really is just going to depend on, in my opinion, execution, which team is going to execute, because both teams look like they were playing in preseason games for Week 1. You know what I'm saying? Which that's a whole different topic that we could always get into as far as having to play your guys in the preseason. But as a Giants fan, last week, the 100-year anniversary, all the big Giants are in the building, all the hype about it. You released those ugly ass jerseys, who me personally, I don't think they're the worst jerseys. I think the tan pants make them look bad. If it was a different color, it'd be a different story. But we absolutely got smacked last week, and it was terrible on all sides of the football. Nothing worked. So we're going to see if we can get some things going in Week 2 versus the rival Commanders, who, like I said, we have had success against.
So watching the off-season Hard Knocks, which in my opinion is 1,000 times better than any Hard Knocks they've ever done. It gave us insight into a football organization like never before. Just so happened to be the Giants. And I think it did the Giants a disservice, to be completely honest, because it gave us an insight. It gave everybody a look that said Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, they have zero confidence in Daniel Jones, and they were going to try just about anything to get rid of him. And then the Saquon Barkley deal and everything. And I think what that did is it put a target on the entire organization and more pressure on them. Do you see the possibility of, because of Hard Knocks and what we saw, that if things don't go right this year, they're just going to wipe the slate? They're Joe Shane, Brian Daboll. I mean, everybody is going to be gone, and they're going to start all over again. Of course, Daniel Jones will be gone. But is that something that is a possibility, specifically because of Hard Knocks? Because we may not have had that insight had that not been around.
Yeah, I don't think those two things correlate, in my opinion. Because it was like the worst kept secret. Once they gave Daniel Jones that contract, which we have an out after this year, you knew that this regime wasn't 100% right. Especially because all things considered, if you want to take in hindsight, what they should have done was they should have picked up his 5th-year option and because that would have been the cheapest bet, and then you could have seen what you had from him in evaluation season and then moved on. Instead, they offered him a contract with outs. So I don't think that if the Giants don't do well this year, that they're going to look back at Hard Knocks and say, okay, that's the reason why Joe Shane and Brian Daboll need to get out of here. Me personally, they need more time. And the best way that Joe Shane and Brian Daboll will be able to extend their careers is by drafting one of these rookie quarterbacks next year, because you're not going to move on from your coach and your GM when you just draft another quarterback. And if the Giants season, which I wasn't very high on, I thought that we were going to probably get about a 6-7 win season based on the schedule and based on everything that was going on. But Hard Knocks in general did give some really good insight. Like, I agree with what you're saying. I think these type of Hard Knocks versions are better because we got to see a look in the front office, but the writing was on the wall. They wanted to move on from Daniel Jones. They inquired about moving up. It's just, you guys weren't going to trade down with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, Brian Daboll showed how much love he has for Jaden Daniels because they chose to spotlight that a lot. The Giants have full creative control, and yet they chose to push that to the forefront. So they tried. They tried to move on. You know what I'm saying? But so I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy. I don't think we have our quarterback. I also don't think Hard Knocks really affects what goes on with them. They need more time, because I'm tired of this. As a Giants fan, I'm tired of this constant changeover, because like John Mara was right to an extent. We did ruin Daniel Jones. We had, like, I'm not saying that his career would be different, but it is true that he's went through all these different coaching changes, all these different head coach GM combinations, and he hasn't had any semblance of stability. Now, week 1 under Brian Daboll looked very good. I mean, year one under Brian Daboll looked very good. Year 2 was a huge step back. My thing as a Giants fan, if those 2 years were inversed, maybe people would have a whole different perspective on the coaching staff. But me personally, I don't think Hard Knocks gives the hot seat to Daboll and Joe Shane, especially not Joe Shane. Daniel Jones will be gone before Brian Daboll will be gone.
I know you said that both teams in New York and Washington look like we were playing preseason games last week for week 1. Was there anything from Washington's side that you see poses as a threat for your Giants in week 2, even though we both sucked?
I'm going to say Jaden Daniels' legs, like the usage of him, I didn't think they were going to let him do that out the gate. Thought they would try to settle him down more, but you're going to have to game plan for that. Now, we do have one of the better linebackers in the league in Bobby Okereke. So you're going to have to keep that spy on Jaden Daniels, in my opinion. But I do feel like the biggest take from the team that will win this game will probably be in the trenches. Whoever wins in the front on offensive line, defensive line will probably win this game, because our secondary stinks. You know what I'm saying? You guys got torched by Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield isn't playing this game. You know what I'm saying? It's Daniel Jones playing this game. And Daniel Jones is what he showed last week is he's a one-read quarterback. So if you guys are able to kind of take away his first read, you guys might have some success. As a Giants fan, I hope not, you know what I'm saying? Because the offensive line is revamped this year. But he had time to throw. Offensive line's revamped, but it seems like he's seeing ghosts out there. He ran into about 3 sacks last week. So I think, like, for you guys, if you guys can get pressure with your front 4, and not even get pressure, but just rattle Daniel Jones and force him to throw some picks, and you guys might have some success. So defensively, I'm going to say your front 4 versus our newly vamped offensive line. And then on offense, for you guys offensive, us defensively, we're going to have to watch out for Jaden Daniels' ability, because we have a system, the complete 180 of last year, where we're not blitz heavy. But when you're rushing with 4 guys and they don't stay home, Daniels can get out of the pocket and really hurt you that way. So that's something that I'm more or less looking out for. Maybe a couple spies, maybe some more zone, stuff like that to, maybe mix things up for us.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels' quickness surprised me. I know he had the top end speed, but he was hitting those holes very quickly last week against the Bucs. So maybe that will bode well here for Washington. Now, you said something that worried me. If it's going to be in the trenches, Washington's had some issues with that on both sides of the ball. Now, favorably, the defensive line did get a lot of pressure on Baker Mayfield. He was able to escape. Now, if you're telling me Daniel Jones is seeing ghosts, great. The problem is Daniel Jones does have a heck of a safety outlet in Neighbors, and we have nobody outside of possibly Mike Sanistril, a rookie, and I wouldn't even put money on that can cover Neighbors. How good is Neighbors, and is he going to make us look foolish in DC this weekend.
I'm excited to see game 2. Brian Daboll came out earlier today, and they had asked him as far as what can you do to get Malik Neighbors the ball more? And he just said as simple as this: you got to throw it to him. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have a number one receiver, like you guys were talking about earlier with Scary Terry, when you guys have a number one receiver, sometimes, man, if he's single coverage, he's still open. Force feed him the ball. Design some plays especially to get him open, because Brian Daboll took over as play caller this year. You have to design plays to move him around and get him open. Last week's play calling was terrible. Like, it was so predictable. And you have to, when you have a number one receiver, you have to feed them early, in my opinion, to stop them from getting frustrated and discouraged throughout the game. So you need to come out early, move him around, game plan to get him the rock as quick as he can, because you have a dynamic weapon. The best receiver, I should say, that Daniel Jones has ever had. You have to utilize him against your secondary. And I think if the Giants are able to force it to him a little more, it can get some success. But if you guys choose to take away that one read, is when you'll probably be able to get to Daniel Jones. So if I'm Daniel Jones and I'm Brian Daboll, I'm telling him, look, man, throw it. You know what I'm saying? Throw it to him. You think he's covered? Throw it to him. If you got to overthrow him, do what you got to do. Take some shots down the field with him, because then that will open up some of the small stuff and get you guys out of cover 2, because cover 2 is our nemesis, because all we do is try to get those quick passes. You have to take some shots over the field to be able to get your big play threat some good opportunities.
Other side, Kayvon Thibodeau. Okay, he's a little bit of an enigma for me. I mean, we study obviously everything about Washington, and we do a pretty good job of studying within the NFC East. But I have no idea how Thibodeau is playing against Carolina or Denver or whoever, right? All I know is that in 4 games against Washington, he has 5 sacks and 8 tackles for losses in 4 games. But against the rest of the NFC East, he has goose eggs in both of those in 7 games. And that's mind-blowing to me. Is he the real deal? Not just against Washington. Let's just pretend like he's never played Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, against us, he's Lawrence Taylor, right? But what is he doing against everybody else? Is he, a cornerstone for this franchise, for your franchise going forward?
I believe so. I like Kayvon. I actually have a Kayvon jersey over there as well. I want him to be able to pan out. He's shown a lot of things. You have to be able to impact the game also with more than just getting to the quarterback. You have to be able to get those pressures. You have to be able to stop the run, which he has done. He's been good on the corner, and it's only going to be made better by the addition of Brian Burns and then Dexter Lawrence being one of the best defensive linemen in the game. So he has to get that pressure off the edge, and he has to make his presence felt early in this game. And the biggest impact he had last week was that that face mask that extended the drive on us. He has moments where he does go ghost, and he does get criticized in the New York media. The New York media lets him have it. Like they get on him all the time. So he's got to prove them wrong. Make his presence felt early in this game. Hey Norm, how you doing? Come off the edge, like I said, because you're going to double Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is going to be the guy that gets 2 sets of eyes. Last week's game was kind of weird to me too, and this is what I'm saying. I don't want to say week 1 fatigue, but Dexter Lawrence saw a lot of plays where he wasn't on the field. So that allowed them to re-up the sides and double Brian Burns, double Kayvon Thibodeau, because Dexter Lawrence was off the field. But if you have those guys continue to go, then maybe Kayvon gets some pressure off the edge along with Burns. But me personally, I believe in Kayvon. I think he was worth the pick that he has. Had a good season last year, got off to a slow start, but has had a good season. I think overall he's a solid player.
I guess it's my turn. All right, Ace. Is there anything from the New York Giants side that this crappy Washington defense from week 1 should be worried about, or vice versa?
Should be worried about our front 7. Yeah. Because of Dexter Lawrence, that's our strength of this team, is our defensive line. If we can get after it and put Jaden Daniels on his back and stuff to run a little bit, then the Giants can have success. As far as what you guys can probably do, our secondary is outside of Deontay Banks, our secondary, we added, is very young, very, very young. Now you added Adoree Jackson, you brought him back. But keys to success for this game for us, we got to get home with the front 7. It's as simple as that. And offensively for us, Daniel Jones, if we are allotted the time that he had last week, I feel like he can have success as long as he gets out of his own head, because the offensive line didn't play bad last week. It really did. And the stats mislead it because it says 5 sacks, but Daniel Jones ran into 3 of those. So, in my opinion,
We have some familiarity with that kind of business here
yeah.
in Washington.
yeah, it happens. Like I said, that's what happens when that quarterback clock goes off and you're like, I should be throwing this or running right now, and you're running right into somebody. That's why I like quarterbacks that can scramble to kind of stay in the pocket to keep the play alive instead of just looking to book it out. And sometimes it's quarterbacks, which is what Jaden Daniels will have to learn. I've seen his slides too, by the way. Y'all need to bring in somebody from like the Orioles.
What slides?
Yeah.
We didn't see him
Yeah.
slide.
Y'all need to bring in
Dives.
somebody from the Baltimore Orioles to come in and teach him how to baseball slide or something. Because
Not even
So
the
I heard
Nationals.
that-
We got a team in DC, you know, Ace. You know,
Yeah, we got the
Nationals are
Nationals.
right there.
We don't have to go
Yeah,
up
he
to
was right
Baltimore.
by saying Baltimore. He's right.
yeah,
He was trying to
some-
pick a better team, is what it was. Nationals.
I've actually
are a
heard
little
a-
rough right now.
I've actually heard a theory though that by going head first, you're limiting yourself from injury, because have you ever seen a guy who's going head first get smacked in the head? It's always the guys who are sliding that get smacked in the head, because
His
that's
helmet came
what's
off.
available to you.
Stoner?
He
What's
did
that?
get
His
hit in the
helmet
head
came
this
off.
time,
You
but
guys-
I agree with Stoner. I think you can control the hit a little bit better by diving
Yeah,
rather than
what I
sliding, and you get those late hits, and you see that head snap back. It's never a good thing when you're sliding and getting hit. So
Yeah.
I just don't want him to get hit. Period. That's it. I just don't want to
Yeah.
see my man get hit.
Ever.
yeah,
I got
I'm-
one last one here for you, Ace, and we're going to kick this one off here with Edmund Paul's donation here, super chat, $5 for Edmund Paul to say that will not happen, Trevor. Using the full name on you, Trev.
Yeah, he did.
We will beat the Giants. What is your prediction, to Ace, for the game? Give it here to Edmund Paul.
I'm gonna go. Even though we were the only team to not score a touchdown last week, I'm gonna go 24-20 Giants, in my opinion. This right here
I was
is
just beginning to like you too.
this right here is a must win for both teams. Like, because ultimately the loser of this game, especially it being a division, ultimately goes back. It's basically like 3-0 if you really want to think about it. Because we both lost last week. You lose this game, you lose the division game. If the Giants have any hope of actually making this a competitive season, they need to come out and play Washington tough, which, like I said, they've had success against. Daniel Jones, you know what I'm saying, sees the red that you guys are wearing, and, you know, for him, he's like a bull sometimes, you know, so he's got to play well. Now, the one thing with him is this. I don't like the whole him coming off an injury excuse, but he really did. It was his first game back. But my thing is, if he's not the best quarterback to give us a chance to win, he shouldn't be out there. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to ultimately go with a 24-20 victory, but I'm still not completely sold on the New York Giants as a good team this year. I still think of us as a 6-win at the most type team, but it'll be good to get one against you guys.
I agree that I don't believe that the New York Giants are a good football team. So if I'm going to throw a prediction out, and I've been burned in the past. I mean, I thought last year in the first game that Washington was just going to humiliate the Giants with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. And of course, again, in the second game with Danny DeVito, his little nephew or whatever, right? But it didn't happen, and I was burned. But it's not going to shy me away from picking Washington this week. Normally, I'm the guy, I'm the realist. I usually pick against Washington, but I can't do it. The Giants stink, and I can't pick against Washington this week. I've got Washington winning the game 28-19.
Oh my gosh, we're going to score 28 points. Are you
Yes,
serious?
sir. Against that secondary.
I mean,
yeah,
Trev, if
dang.
we would have hit those 2 field goals and didn't go for a 2-point conversion, we would have had 27 against the Bucks.
Woulda, coulda.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Shoulda. Yeah.
So Trev seems to
prediction
be a
next?
little more of the down to earth one. The go ahead. I want to
No,
hear what
Trev
you
is
got to say
usually
about
in cloud 9 and picking Washington.
Yeah,
every
Washington
single week.
Switching my ways.
11
I
wins,
I think Washington ends up winning this game 17-13. I think it's going to be an ugly game.
Wow.
I think it's going to be pretty much the same as week 1. 2 teams looking like preseason teams. We haven't found our gelling yet, and I don't think you guys have either. Still early. 17-13 Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take Washington here as well. I'm also going to go a little low on the score. We're going to go 20-14. Washington's going to walk away with a victory here in DC. First one for Jaden Daniels, and first one in a long time for against the rivals, against the New York Giants. Ace, we appreciate you jumping on here with us. Why don't you tell people where they can find your stuff in case they have Giant related content that they want to see?
Well, appreciate you guys for having me on. You can find me at the Ace Avenue. It's spelled just like that right there. I do New York Giants content. I do New York Yankees content. The Yankees are in a playoff race right now, so that's kind of the priority right here. I also do movies where I do reviews, reactions, and rankings to all of my favorite movies and more. So that's where you can find me at. Like I said, the Yankees take precedence because they're playing at the same time with the Giants, but I will be putting out more Giants post-game stuff, and I will be calling my first live play-by-play of the year for the Giants next weekend versus the Browns.
Loss.
Nice.
Just letting you know.
Hey, the Ace, maybe Aaron Judge should stay away from Paw Patrol so he can get another homer or something. I don't know.
He's the MVP. You're talking about the MVP.
Yeah,
I am. I'm also
I
talking
might
about
hate
Paw
the
Patrol.
Yankees more than I hate the Giants. For the
You
record.
guys are
I'm
talking
just
about
saying.
the MVP.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Well,
That's fine.
Ace, thanks for joining us here on Ref the District. You have a good night, and we'll definitely have to have you back on the next time these two teams meet, and hopefully we'll be bringing out the broom on that one. So appreciate you. You have a wonderful night, Dave.